Ad blockers are becoming increasingly popular, and almost all the Apple iOS users does not get tracked by Facebook Pixel, Google Tag Manager and Google Analytics. So in this video, I'm going to show you how these ad blockers actually work and what we can do to overcome these limitations that has been added by the browsers. To make things a bit easier for you, I'm going to use an analogy of a school. Everyone has been to school and you understand how school works. Let me explain. Yeah, let's assume that everyone has been to school, right? And every school has a main entrance, which is called a gate. At every gate, we have one person, which is called a gatekeeper. Responsibility of this gatekeeper is to make sure that only the children who actually goes to school are allowed to enter the school, and everyone else, they are not supposed to enter the school, right? So, gatekeeper will allow everyone who is wearing the uniform of the school, and they will block every other student who is not wearing the same uniform of this particular school. That's how the gatekeepers actually work. So what ends up happening is that if some other person from a different school tries to enter this school, this gatekeeper is not going to let them enter, and that's how the school system works. The browser behaves in a very similar way. Let me redo the whole thing in a separate place. So let's assume that this is your browser, and ad blockers acts as the gatekeepers. And every browser is loading for a particular domain of your website. So for example, let's call it domain.com. So the uniform of this browser is domain.com. So all the requests that are going in or going out of this browser that have this domain.coms are allowed to enter the browser and leave the browser. However, as soon as Google Tag Manager, Google Analytics or Facebook Pixel tries to send or receive any requests from the same browser for this domain, they get easily blocked. So what ends up happening is that the Google Tag Manager tries to load its domain from Google Tag Manager.com, and similarly analytics.google.com. Great. So if any of the request has these domains, either it is tagmanager.google.com, analytics.google.com or facebook.com or even TikTok and etc., the list goes on. If any browser does not have this particular domain, the ad blocker will not allow them to enter the browser or leave the browser. That's how the tracking actually gets blocked. So in order to make this work, the solution would be somehow to mask these domains that are actually for the tracking scripts to our main primary domain or somehow our secondary domain. So that's the solution that we are going to work on it. But before moving forward, let's just quickly summarize what we have studied so far. We have noticed that the browsers are controlled environment where ad blockers have access to the domains for which the requests are going inside the browser and outside of the browser. The ad blockers, Apple iOS restrictions, even the ITP restrictions of the browser, they look and monitor the URLs that are going inside or outside of the browser, and then they block the request based on those parameters. Let me jump onto my computer and show you this whole thing in practical stuff so you can understand how actually this works on the browser. Alright, so what I have done is open my website on the browser. Let's right click anywhere on the website and go to the inspect tool. This is where we have a lot of developer tools which we can inspect. Here you might notice that we have this Wi-Fi looking thing which is called network request. This network request will show us all the requests that are going in and outside of the browser, as we were talking on the whiteboard a few minutes ago. Here, we do have some particular phrases that we can search for to filter out the request. Anything that is going inside or outside of the Google Analytics, those requests are highlighted by a collect. Facebook requests are under facebook.com, Tag Manager requests are under tagmanager.com. So let's clear everything out and make sure we don't have any ad blockers and do a quick refresh on the page just to reload everything and fetch all the requests. First thing I want to show is the Google Tag Manager scripts here. So let's search for the GTM ID real quick, and this is the Google Tag Manager script. Here you are seeing that the Google Tag Manager request has been sent from this particular domain, and this one is different from tagmanager.com. And I have this browser ad blocker which is called uBlock Origin, and you can see that it has allowed all the domains. So Facebook can also send requests, Google can send Analytics send requests, and all the other platform can send requests. Similarly, we can search for Facebook here, and you can see this Facebook page view request has been sent by trackingacademy.com to facebook.com, and this has successfully tracked the page view event on the browser. Now let's just quickly turn on the ad blocker and see what is going to happen here. So I'm going to click it on and hit refresh on the page. Perfect. Now as we have refreshed the page, you might notice that the tag manager is in allowed domain and Google Tag Manager has been blocked. Let's just go back to the browser quickly and try to research for the Google Tag Manager script. And this is the latest request that fired on the page. Ignore the other ones because I have a preserve log enabled. But yeah, you might notice that this has tried to send a request for tagmanager.google.com to bring in the container. However, the request came back with a 307 redirect. That means the ad blocker actually blocked the request and the Google Tag Manager container did not fire on the page. So if the GTM container is not working, that means the analytics scripts, the Facebook script, nothing is going to work on the page because everything is inside Google Tag Manager container. Now what I'm going to do is update my website so that the request no longer goes to Google Tag Manager but goes to a custom subdomain which I just configured on the website. Initially, the scripts were loading from this URL, which is the tagmanager.google.com. Now I have reconfigured them to load from a different domain, which is road.trackingacademy.com. Since these changes are live on the website right now, I can show you how these actually work. Perfect. Now I just updated the domain on the website and I'm going to show you a cool thing. Now, since the Google Tag Manager domain is no longer there, we have to search for the new custom subdomain that I just added. And you might notice this new script here. And this script is sending requests to load.road.trackingacademy.com. And this script is actually loading now the Google Tag Manager container. And based on this script, now you can also see a new page view request, which is being sent to the server. And now the server is tracking the page view event. So what we have done right now, instead of loading the request from that originally tagmanager.google.com, now the requests are actually firing from our custom subdomain, which is load.road.trackingacademy. Now it fires all the other requests. Now you can see that the Facebook request has been tried to send through this, the analytics requests are working, and all the other scripts are trying to fire, but they're still getting blocked. So I just showed you how the Google Tag Manager original scripts were being blocked, but using the custom subdomain of road.trackingacademy.com, it actually worked. And now the Google Tag Manager container is firing on the website. How I know that the container is firing on the website? Because I can see that the next request, which has been added in the GTM container, is actually working. Perfect. So this is how the whole ad blocking situation works. Adblockers tries to block the request based on the domain URL. And what is the solution? We just make sure that the uniform our domains are wearing are exactly the same or they are on the subdomain. So yeah, if you have any questions regarding this, reach out in the DM. Until then, have a good day. Bye-bye.